These are pictures of Bavarian maypoles. Each little village down in Bavaria has a maypole, and it's got little signs on it indicating what type of shops and services provided in that village. In addition to Berchtesgaden, we also went to Neuschwanstein Castle, which is a castle that Walt Disney used to copy. We couldn't take pictures inside the castle.
Wieder so viel lang.
Jetzt warten wir erst auf den Papi, ja?
Bremse ein bisschen anziehen.
Austria is an exciting travel destination with a wide range of vacation possibilities. In the next hour, I'll show you where to go and what to do to get the most value and pleasure out of your trip. Cities like Salzburg, Mozart's birthplace, and the location for the famous movie, The Sound of Music. Then on to Innsbruck, the capital of Tyrol, known for its folklore, old world atmosphere, and winter sports. Salzburg is the capital of the province of the same name, located on the northern slopes of the Alps. Salzburg is a beautiful medieval city whose history and ancient architecture blends comfortably with 20th century technology. Within the ancient walls of the old city, Mozart was born in 1756, and Salzburg's stature as a center of music and learning was enhanced. The Hohensalzburg Fortress overlooks the city. Built in the 11th century, it's known as the largest completely preserved fortress in Central Europe. You can walk up or take the cable car for a small charge. The last car goes down anywhere from 5 to 9 p.m. depending on the season, so plan your tour of the fortress before the railway closes. Guided tours leave every 15 to 30 minutes, and there is a small admissions fee. The Nonnenberg convent nearby became world famous in the movie The Sound of Music as the hiding place for the Von Trapp family. The movie was shot entirely in the Salzburg area, and Sound of Music tours are popular here to see the exact shooting locations. For any information on tours, or if you'd like to pick up some do-it-yourself maps, go to a tourist information office. There's one located at the Mozartplatz, or Mozart Square. You'll recognize it by the large statue of Mozart in the center. A few of Mozart's houses in town are now museums, including the house where he was born and 2 houses where he lived. Mozart began playing piano at the age of 3, writing compositions at 6, and performing them at 7, becoming known as the wonder child of Europe. The home on the Marktplatz where he lived with his family displays musical instruments of the period. The Mozarteum is now a college of music, and the famous Salzburg Music Festival is a top draw every summer, with a series of concerts scheduled everywhere from the Mozarteum to the Winter Riding School, another Sound of Music location. Behind the Mozarteum is a summer house where Mozart composed the Magic Flute. Well, they've finally done it. Commercialism is everywhere. They finally commercialized Mozart, beginning with Mozart candy. You'll see Mozart candy, wine, even restaurants named after the famous composer. Just off the Mozartplatz, walk towards the Residenzplatz to see the Glockenspiel Tower. The tower contains 35 bells, which perform at 7 a.m., 11 a.m., and 6 p.m. The music it rings across the city was written by Haydn, Weber, and guess who? There's an outdoor cafe on the Mozartplatz that's a good spot for listening. The Residence Palace next door is where the Prince Bishops lived, and the staterooms and art gallery are open for tours. In front is an unusual fountain that's 40 feet tall and beautifully lighted at night. In front of this fountain is where to find the horse carriages that are for hire. Again, agree on a price and tour length in advance and pay at the end of the ride. The cathedral on the other side of the square is known as the finest Baroque building north of the Alps. There are several other interesting churches in Salzburg, and your best bet is to see them on a tour or carry a guidebook as you wander around the old part of the city. The tourist office has some great mini-guides on Salzburg, complete with maps and brief descriptions on almost every square, church, and building in town. The old part of the city on the left bank of the river can only be seen on foot. Streets are made of stone, quaint but uneven, so be sure to have tennis shoes or other rubber-soled shoes for sightseeing. I found that leather-soled shoes tend to be slippery. Shopping in Salzburg is centered in the old section. The Altermarkt is the old market area, and the main shopping street is called the Getreidegasse. It parallels the river on the left bank, a block or two inland. Shops are open from 9 to 6 with a lunch break closing, and they close Saturday afternoons. Just remember, you have to spend 1,000 shillings in each store, and you have to ask for the tax form. Left and right banks. On the right bank, the Landestheater is the main performance hall with a regular series of opera and operettas scheduled year-round. It is the official residence of the mayor and is sometimes used for concerts and weddings. It's open to the public and often called the Taj Mahal of Salzburg, as it was built by Wolf Dietrich for his love. This was unusual, as Wolf Dietrich was a bishop. From the back terrace, there's a great view of the fortress. The most popular cafes and restaurants in Salzburg feature great atmosphere and/or city views. There are more tourists than available tables in Salzburg, so it's extremely wise to plan ahead for dinner, making reservations in advance. Excellent hotels and pensions are within walking distance of the Old Town area, but rooms are booked fairly well ahead of time. Up to Innsbruck was named for the Inn Bridge, which spans the Seil River and was the site of a trading post in the 12th century. The main street in Innsbruck is the Maria-Theresienstraße, and you'll see the triumphal arch at the end built by the Empress. The reliefs commemorated the marriage of her son and death of her husband, both events happening at the same time in Innsbruck's royal palace. The view of the Alps is spectacular from here. Another major site is the Anna Säule, or St. Anne's Column, in the center of the Maria-Theresienstraße, named because Innsbruck was liberated on St. Anne's Day. Streetcars run the length of the Maria-Theresienstraße, which is also the main shopping street in town. Taxis are plentiful also, and many have ski racks for rides to the slopes. Tourist offices are located here not only for Innsbruck, but for all the ski areas in Tyrol as well, and you can get any maps, guides, or tourist information you need here. The Old Town area is a pedestrian-only part of town, located at the opposite end of the Maria-Theresienstraße from the arch. Here, buildings are frescoed, streets are cobblestone, and it's the most picturesque part of the city. Come to the main square first. Well, if you're not afraid of heights and your heart can stand climbing over 155 steps, at the top of the clock tower in the old square is a skinny little railing where you can get one of the best views of Innsbruck. Innsbruck became the capital of Tyrol when Duke Friedrich, who was nicknamed Friedel the Penniless, moved here from Iran. Out the back door of the royal palace is the Old Square. The most famous site here was built by Duke Friedrich when he grew tired of the rumors that he had no money. It's called the Golden Roof. One of the most famous sites in the Old Square is the Golden Roof, on the building built as a residence for Duke Frederick. Well, now the roof is just gilded copper, but originally the roof was solid gold because the Duke wanted the people to know that he wasn't poor. That's the rumored story, but some now say the roof has always been copper. Later, the balconies were used by Emperor Maximilian as a royal box to watch the festivities in the square below. It's covered with beautiful paintings and carvings. Across the square is the Helbling House, covered in carved pink bow windows, designed to let in maximum sunlight. A lot of souvenir shops, cafes, and inns branch off from the square, and if you're lucky, you may catch a Tyrolean folk dancing performance here in the square, with the costumes and music typical of the region. The Royal Palace, or Hofburg, is open for tours every day except Sunday from 9 to 4. The Habsburg monarchy is memorialized in the decor. Across the street, the Volkunst Museum displays Tyrolean folk art, costumes, and furniture, and it's also the entrance to the palace. Above Innsbruck, famous for winter sports. Even in spring, when there's no snow in the lower valley, you can still find it here. Surprisingly, the tiny town of Seefeld boasts an active nightlife with nightclubs, discos, and a gambling casino that features roulette, baccarat, slots, and blackjack. Seefeld was the organizer of the Nordic World Championships of 1985 and the location for the Nordic events in the Winter Olympics of 1964 and 1976. It's known as a winter sports destination with over 100 miles of cross-country skiing tracks, 17 cable cars and downhill lifts, a ski school, 2 skating rinks, and 40 curling rinks. It's also a great place for an old-fashioned sleigh ride. In review, these are the major sites in Innsbruck.
This is a church in Innsbruck. The Golden Roof, Innsbruck. This is just a city scene from Innsbruck with the mountains. Since we were so close to the border of Austria and Italy, we drove through the Brenner Pass and stopped in a small village in Italy, and this was a castle that was along the road. This is a small church in the Italian village we stopped at. This is in Salzburg, Austria now. The big house behind us is the house from The Sound of Music, and then to the right is the fortress in the background. This is the fortress in Salzburg. This was a large heater inside the fortress, and Napoleon was visiting here and he broke his hand on it. This is down in the shopping area of Salzburg in the narrow streets. Only pedestrians can walk on these streets. It's real crowded, and it was decorated with Christmas decorations. This is one of the scenes from The Sound of Music, and this is at the palace in Salzburg. This is one of the fountains used during the movie of The Sound of Music. One of the most unfortunate things of our visit was, being winter time, all the fountains were boarded up, and this is the only one we could find that wasn't boarded up. This is the same palace, and those are the grounds that were used during The Sound of Music. This photo is from a distance, but this is the abbey for The Sound of Music. This is another area from The Sound of Music, and this is the graveyard area that they hid from the Germans during the movie. A lot of the stuff in the movie, though, was fake and not really there, like the scenes at the beginning.
Well, they have been on an upward swing, so.
Happy New Year.
The yellow one, that's on the head. Not quite as old as this place here, this part of the city. They are like...
Just there.
So, vorwärts für die Herrschaften. Damit war dies der Haupthandelsweg für den Salzhandel. Überliegenden Ufer, einen Berg, das ist der Kapuziner, zu Füßen dieser Berge liegen.
Gotta wait for the cake. È vero, mi piace molto, è molto ben studiato, è più studiato del
Where's the entrance? Right there?
Right here. Right there.
Oh.
I got one.
That one. Oh. Okay, anyone that wants the catacomb tour?
He said this, when I said, come and get us. He didn't say he'd come and get us, though.
You know those Christmas decorations? I saw that picture. That one right there.
Hier Geld rein, wieder Kapitel.
Vooraf niet gelden. Zo.
Ja, kom meer gelaten.
Ich werde auch beste Berechnung schicken.
Huh? Hold on, Lisa.